Hello, everyone, and welcome to Health and Happiness at Work. This podcast is for busy working adults trying to figure out how to better take care of themselves and others. My name is Katie, and I will be your host. We are here today because adulting is hard and because busy working adults spend more time at work than anywhere else. We're going to have real conversations about real life and, most importantly, swing into action on the biggest opportunities. We're going to talk about ways to layer health, fitness, and wellness directly into your workday so that you feel fantastic. I cannot wait to dive deeper into each of these topics related to health and happiness. You are not alone. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is Season 2, Episode 10, and our topic for the day is transformation. And when we look at the definition of that, it speaks to a dramatic change. And inherent in that is the idea that it improves, so improvement. Today, we're then looking at transformation of the workplace, the workday. How do we transform someone's experience of the workday? And when that happens, how does it positively impact the business or the organization, the employer, and ultimately people's lives? You know, we talk about this, I think, in past episodes, but we are in the workplace more hours, more volume of hours than we are anywhere else. And so I just feel very strongly that it is a huge opportunity. We want to make sure that people really have the best experience possible so that they want to stay too, right? And so why we're here exploring this topic, there's really two reasons that got me to yes on this topic today. I mean, I guess there's a third one too that I'll lead with. You know, this is my life's work. I discovered pretty early on in my career that I like working with people. I wanted to be hands-on with people. I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And I just happened to stumble upon a career in workplace wellness. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love this. I love being a part of the workday and being there as a positive presence. And so to get into my other reasons, I had a couple of recent observations working hands-on with clients, stepping into their workday. And I've known what works, but it really kind of smacked me in the face recently about what's working. And I just wanted to share that with you all. I anticipate you all work somewhere, and that's why you're tuning in. And then the second reason is that I do a lot of consulting and I'm meeting with all different types of workplaces and industries. And leaders are asking me things about best practices, obviously. And the one thing that just keeps getting asked repeatedly is this. I get asked, what is the one thing that makes the biggest difference? What's the one thing we can do that will move the needle the most? What's the thing to do to get the best impact or results? And this came up actually in a meeting last week, and I was excited to share my answer with them. And so I thought, hey, let's do a whole episode on this because I think we probably have a wide range of listeners, right? You might be an employee working somewhere new. You might be working somewhere where you've been the last 20 years. We don't see that as often, but it does happen. You might be a decision maker or a leader in your workplace. I really do think I'll have something for everybody, but my goal today is to have you thinking about the workday a little differently. Before we dive into what some of those recommendations are, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background on my life's work and what I see and observe. I find that people enjoy hearing about what it really means to do what I do. So first, I wanted to share that I have the amazing honor and privilege of stepping into so many different work days and workplaces and industries. So I have worked with financial services, things like credit unions, banks, accounting. We work, and when I say we, I guess it's more through my business and my team. And then sometimes I'll say I, because I go there too. We have manufacturing, law offices, which, the legal industry tends to be extremely high stress. We've worked in technology, with school districts, municipalities, power companies, healthcare companies, insurance companies, really all different types. Retail, I don't even think I said that. And retail is one of the industries I've maybe spent the most time. And I love it. Every single workday for me is super different. I never have the exact same workday, and I really enjoy that amount of novelty. So maybe that's a takeaway too. If you're someone who really likes change and you thrive off change and you get bored easily, you might really look for a career that does allow you to have a unique work day or work week. That's one of my favorite things about what I do. And obviously, as I mentioned, I get to meet a ton of people. Within each organization, there's a number of different departments and functions and roles. And I can't say enough about how fun it is to just see the similarities and differences between all these different work days. And just to give you maybe a little clearer example, and I'll just use retail as an example to start. Even within one workplace or company, there are dramatically different work days. So if I think about my retail clients, we have home office or headquarter employees, many of which are at their desks, in meetings, potentially a little bit of business travel, but it's a little bit more of a sedentary role. This could include maybe a call center too. We've worked with a lot of call centers who have a very sedentary workday. In retail, though, we also have distribution centers. So these massive warehouses where guess what? People don't ever sit. They don't sit at all. It's incredibly hands-on. There's a lot of safety considerations. And then also in retail, we have stores, right? So the actual storefronts where you have full-time and part-time employees who are customer facing and hands-on and again on their feet. So I share this because when I get to work with a new company, I'm really looking at what are the different work days within that company or workplace? How do they change? Who's sitting, who's running around, who maybe has a little more pressure or demand. I think customer service roles can be extremely stressful because you're working with the public and you don't know what's on the other end of that call or what issue or problem you're trying to solve. And so when we're thinking about how do we make the workplace and workday healthier and better, we really have to consider what each department, what each function of the business or the organization is experiencing on a day-to-day basis. Now, for the past 20 years, I've been working with companies or employers who I say get it in air quotes. And when I say get it, they get that it's a good idea to invest in people. They get that it's a good idea to invest in the culture. They get that people need supplemental support or resources, and they want people to stay. You may have seen this meme that's floating around social media, and it's a conversation between a CFO and a CEO. And the CFO says, what if we invest all this money in people and then they leave? What if we train them up and we pour into them and then they leave? And the CEO looks at the CFO and says, what if we don't and then they stay? So we have to put our best foot forward, do the right thing, trust that it's always a great idea to invest in people and the culture and that it will work and have some sticking power. And if not, you still did the right thing. So I've had this benefit of working with companies that really do get it. They want to invest in people and they are looking at health and well-being and making it a priority. And so oftentimes then they're sort of shopping around who's going to help us with this. And that's when I step in or someone like my organization, Wellness Collective, steps in to help with that effort. So you might be listening and maybe your company has a wellness initiative or program. Maybe they don't. If they don't, it can be a tough sell. There are some workplaces that are a little slower to hop on the wellness train. And again, you might be someone who could be an influencer in that organization or show some of the reasons why it's a great idea to head this direction. But it can be difficult. There can be some opposition, but I do think as a society, we're doing such a better job talking about things like physical, mental, emotional health, and we are heading the right direction. But I acknowledge some workplaces are a little behind the times. So perhaps some of what I share today will help you to make a business case that it's a great idea to support people within the workday and within a wellness program or initiative. So let's dive in. As I mentioned, people are always asking me what works. Tell us what works, Katie. What should we do first? How can we make the workday better and healthier? And I find that in that conversation, whomever I'm speaking with might jump directly to very specific topics or very specific activities. Should we do a step challenge? Should we have a yoga class? Should we focus on stress management? Oh, should it be healthy eating? Is that what people need? And there's always this kind of grasping at what topics do people need help with. And this is great. Yes, we want to educate people on various health and wellness topics. Yes, we want to empower them with skills. But when they ask me this question and when they start throwing ideas out on the table, I say, let's take a step back. And I want to look at this a little bit differently. I want to have a slightly different conversation. So before we get into what class are we offering, what education are we offering, I really want to look at the workday itself. And so what I have for you are 3 massive opportunities to really transform the workplace and the workday, and which I've already shared in doing so will absolutely benefit the business and organization and the most valuable asset within it, the teams of people. So again, people tend to want to focus on the what are we offering? And where I'm really going to take us today is the how. How are we going about this so that everyone wins? I'll just repeat that one more time. People oftentimes get focused on the what, and we're going to pull it back and take a look at the how. And I think it's this how that can really start to move the needle, create some amazing change, and transform the workplace and the workday. And so with this, I should also add some big conversations might need to happen, right? Policies, procedures, permissions might need to change. The workday as it is might not be set up to do what I'm asking you to do here in just a moment, but this is what really, really works. The first recommendation is to make healthy and supportive opportunities an inherent part of the day. What do I mean by that? I think what sometimes happens is employees are given opportunities to do things. And when I say do things, participate in activities as part of their wellness program, but it becomes this afterthought, if you will, of do this after work. Do this over your lunch hour. And that does continue to trend. It is a very, very common time for people to take care of themselves is over the lunch hour or after work. But we run the risk of people being low on capacity and maybe being pulled many different directions, especially after work, right? People have dependents, smaller children, children active in activities. Many are caregivers for their aging parents or a sick loved one. And so the workday ends and they're on to next, some other demand. And so therefore, they maybe can't pause and take care of themselves immediately after work. There's also this consideration that maybe the lunchtime should be sacred. And, we really should maybe step away from the desk, have a healthy lunch, and not try to multitask and do many things at once. Just enjoy the process of eating, the food, the experience of it. There's a lot of benefit actually from a mind-body perspective and from a intuitive eating perspective to just let lunch be lunch and not try to pair it with some other activity. But lunch and learns, are very, very much trending still. So where I'm headed with this is we can make opportunities for learning, development, healthy practices, self-care. We can make this happen anytime within the workday. And what I've seen be especially effective is starting the workday with some type of healthy ritual or norm. I can give some examples. And also providing maybe the same mid-afternoon, some opportunity to take care of yourself mid-afternoon so that it's an inherent part of the day and something that people are paid to do. And that's a really big deal to get that approved, right? That we're paying people to take care of themselves. They can do this on their work time. And it does beg a lot of other questions, right? There are certain industries where, because of the scope of work and because of the nature of the job, they really can't step away, right? It's like a frontline type of job. It might be a first responder situation. It might be someone on a manufacturing plant, so it is a very, very big conversation. And sometimes there are a lot of considerations. I'm also thinking about our banking client. Tellers can't just step away indefinitely, but we can open the conversation to say, what's possible? What's possible to make the workday healthier? What can we figure out so that people can take care of themselves during the workday so that they can engage with the wellness program? Like I said, I have a couple of groups who start the day with a wellness activity. This looks like morning stretching, morning yoga. Some groups, it's more of a meditation or mindfulness experience to kind of set the tone for the day. Actually, we did a pretty cool program for teachers so that they could get grounded and have some mind-body practices before they started their workday hands-on with children, to really support the nervous system and feeling steady. So there's infinite ways this can actually play out. But when it's just baked into the workday and when that can be figured out, it's pretty amazing. When integrating healthier choices into the workplace and workday, it can actually happen at every meeting or at every work session. Norms can be created at any time. And I think oftentimes norms exist and we may or may not be aware of them. Maybe every time there's a certain staff meeting, a box of donuts appears and like, hey, I love donuts. Yay, donuts. But if it's every single week, maybe there's an opportunity to introduce some other options. I think sometimes we just kind of accept things as they are versus saying, hey, how could this evolve or be different? And how can we really just make it easy for people to have healthy options? The second recommendation I want to talk about today really centers on convenience. It centers on lowering barriers. And I call this bringing the opportunities to the people as conveniently as possible. Here's an example. We had a client who wanted to offer chair massage to their employees. People love a good chair massage. It feels amazing. I personally believe that people really crave touch, and healing touch through massage is really awesome, and employees always appreciate it. But instead of saying to them, here's a gift certificate, go get a massage at this place after work, it gets to happen directly within the workday, which was recommendation number 1. But number 2, we bring it as close to them as possible. So bring it directly to that building. Bring it directly to that department. There have been so many times over the years where we've been invited into a very specific department, when I say we, Wellness Collective, have been invited into a specific department to bring the activity to them as close as possible. There was actually a whole floor of IT staff at this one insurance company. We would come and do what's called midday movement. And we might have 100 different people all standing around the IT department, and no need to change clothes. We don't have to put on fitness gear. We just got people moving. We're doing push-ups. We're doing jumping jacks. We're getting blood flowing. We're getting people engaging and hanging out with one another. And we're making it easy. So recommendation number 2 is make it easy to engage. Bring it as close to your teams or as close to the people you're trying to reach as possible. The second there's a relocation, or you have to go here, or you have to go there, or that type of hoop to jump through, it might reduce the impact you're trying to have, and it might really impact how many people are able to engage. And we've seen this work really well, especially at employers that have functions maybe all across town. We take the wellness activities to that department, to that division, to that building. And yes, it creates a lot more touch points, and that can cost more in terms of a budget or investment. But guess what? It works. People need people, and we have to bring the people to the people, and then it all works better and is more convenient. The third recommendation I want to focus on really ties back to this idea I mentioned earlier, that people have different work days. So for years, people that I've met with, decision makers at companies, I've heard them say things like, well, everybody has to have the same thing. Everybody has to have the same thing. We have to be fair. And I said, wait a second. I think everybody deserves support and a healthy workday, but I think what that looks like and how it unfolds should be driven by the type of workday they have. So recommendation number 3 is to provide, yes, fair and equitable opportunities, but make it relevant to the workday. So make it relevant, not necessarily the same. And so again, to give examples, think back to that distribution center. These folks do not need a step challenge. They don't need a walking challenge. They're getting easily 20, 30,000 steps a day. These folks are tired. This is the group that needs poured into and restored. We actually had a program that was for restoration, where the shifts would end and the distribution employees would meet for a wellness activity, and it was more centered on deep stretching, meditation, relaxation techniques. We wanted to pour into these folks and help them to recharge before they went home. We weren't asking them to get done bending, lifting, and twisting all day and then do boot camp, right? Like Amazon's probably not asking their employees to go and do more fitness right when they get off work, right? They've had a very active work day. I just plucked that as an example. So we really want to be strategic. We want to be intentional. We want to be thoughtful. I did have an organization who had a mega customer service branch of their company. Actually, I'm thinking of 2 different examples. The first example, they were very thoughtful around the holidays. This was a retailer, a retail call center, and they were very thoughtful and intentional that around the holidays, volume is up, right? Volume is up, more calls, more orders, stress is up. How do we allow people and give people a little bit more self-care and relaxation and these positive experiences right within their workday? So we did some really nice healthy holidays types of events with some movement, some meditation, some relaxation practices. Then I'm thinking of another customer service department who very high stress, a lot of problem solving, a lot of crisis management. If there was some type of natural disaster, the call centers would obviously get a lot more phone calls. And we were really looking at how do we build their toolkit? How do we give these folks tools to get through their workday, navigate stress? I think we did stress mastery specific programming there. And again, some chair massage and relaxation techniques. So You can see kind of a theme of some of the programs and the what that's trending, but I can't encourage you enough to think about your groups, your teams, your colleagues. Think about what the workday is like because of the industry, because of the role or function, and how do we make choices for the activities and the offerings, heck, even the team building based on that. I really intended to focus on these three recommendations today, but if I were to offer a fourth, it would be to really stay versatile in how you're reaching people that you work with. And what I mean by that is people really have strong preferences, right? Some people love to exercise, some people are really intimidated by the gym. Some people are more extroverted, some people are more introverted. And so, where I'm headed with this is anytime we can support autonomy and give people many options and then allow them the ability to choose to participate in what's most interesting and relevant and meaningful to them, then that goes a long way too. We really can't, in my opinion, force one opportunity on everybody. So, say we're applying all of these recommendations today, and say there's a midday yoga class, say it's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it comes right to the department, and it's worked out so that maybe there's two back-to-back classes, and then that way one department always has coverage. They can choose which class they go to. We're being really thoughtful and intentional. Well, yes, you're applying all of these best practices, but what happens when someone says, yoga? Ew, I don't want to take yoga, So we can't, I know we also can't be all things to all people, but I think diversification of what's happening within the workday is also really supportive. And what I see is that everyone has a little different point of entry, right? I've definitely spoken about this before. Some folks might be more interested in a walking group and someone else is interested in a running group. One person might be interested in volunteering and service, and another person might want to lose 100 pounds. We don't know what people are called to do, what they're motivated to do, what they have declared they want to do. And so the more diversification and variety, the more we'll see that engagement go up, which is really great. So to wrap us up today and put this in a nice little bow for you to go and present to your workplace or your decision makers, there's massive opportunity in the how we go about providing opportunities within the workplace and workday, making it convenient, baking it into the workday, really striving to make it as convenient as possible, even if that means having to rewrite some policies or procedures or getting permission to gift people some paid time for self-care. We've talked about making it relevant and equitable and really considering what makes the most sense for groups. So you have some of this how knowledge, and I always hear people kind of chomping at the bit to get to the what. So what can we do once we've gotten the green light and we've organized it in a way to make it low barrier to get involved? So I'll just leave you with a few what suggestions, right? What types of activities are we layering into the workday? What types of learning? What types of skill building? There are definitely themes that are trending in terms of bringing health, fitness, and well-being into the workplace. And I'll just leave you with a few of those suggestions for you to consider. And again, maybe your workplace is already on it. Maybe these things are not currently offered as part of your workday, but certainly you could take that lead, take that initiative, or seek it out yourself. Sometimes we just have to make a choice for ourselves and take it upon ourselves to add it into our workday on our own, even if it's not workplace sponsored. So some of the what that is trending is centered on what I call campaigns or challenges. Some workplaces will focus on things like fitness challenges, physical activity challenges, you'll hear them called, or PAC for short, physical activity challenge. Weight loss, I do steer clients away from things like The Biggest Loser. I do wrestle with weight loss challenges at times, although we in particular are very mindful in how we organize and execute these. We are not doing public weigh-ins. We are not weighing the employees as managers of the program. Everything is self-reported and very thoughtful. And I don't know, I guess I could go down a whole rabbit hole on that. But there are individuals who are significantly overweight. Overweight and obesity affects about 60%, 66% of America. So there are opportunities for weight management and that type of thing, but I think we have to be very delicate about how we go about that. So then, as I mentioned, step challenges or team types of activities where you're accumulating fitness minutes and things like that. So all of this can unfold within the workday, and people can have a really great time either working independently or in teams. Now, with campaigns, sometimes we're offering things or opportunities that are not challenge-based per se. There's not a hard measurable. It's really driven more by learning and development. So this might look like an 8-week program dedicated to stress mastery and resiliency building. This might look like an 8-week program dedicated to mindful eating or eating for energy. It might look like a 6-week program focused on moving toward mindfulness. There are dozens and dozens of different campaigns that I've felt called to write because there are so many different ways to support people with adopting healthier behaviors, becoming more self-aware, and really celebrating successes and building motivation and momentum over the course of many weeks. I find that this works extremely well and can be a very, very fun and helpful addition to the workday. The other thing that continues to trend are classes, right? So on-site fitness classes, on-site mind-body classes. In a post-pandemic world, we are seeing virtual everything, virtual every type of workout class, mind-body experience. We specifically offer things like morning mobility, midday movement, midday meditation. All of these things are off the charts with popularity. And if you need more ideas for implementation, I'm here for you. We are seeing massive trends in both the offering of mental health counseling, not just through the EAP program, but paid for by the employer, and a huge trend in health coaching. The amazing thing about health coaching is that it allows individual employees to chat privately with someone trained to coach them and support behavior change. It's scheduled at a convenient time. It can happen directly within the workday, assuming they can step away and be somewhere private. But it really allows someone to have that more confidential, intimate experience and to work on whatever is relevant to them, right? Some individuals, it's disease management, it's quitting smoking or some other tobacco product, it's managing their response to stress, it's learning mind-body practices, sometimes it's setting boundaries or looking at communication. So coaching and counseling are very, very much trending. We are seeing a return to on-site events, which hallelujah. I've missed events, for the past several years. And so things like health fairs and employee appreciation days. And as I mentioned, on-site chair massage or reflexology or chat with a personal trainer, chat with a dietitian, do a healthy food tasting, raffle off prizes, and just allow people to come and try and experience. We're seeing a real trend in just a general self-care event and fitness events, fitness assessments, these types of things people have a lot of fun with too. Education. Let's talk about, as I mentioned, the lunch and learn. It is here to stay, but we're really seeing that it doesn't have to be over lunch, as I mentioned. So what I love is that this offering, this idea of getting people together to learn, to share, to skill build on a specific topic, this is maybe the number one way that we are seeing wellness unfold within the workday. And again, it's offered all different types of day. Many workplaces already have a commitment to learning and development, but they're realizing people really do want to learn about so many different health and wellness topics. So that can look like an hour-long training, that can look like something longer or shorter. And with that, we are also seeing an uptick in very intentional trainings. So a train the trainer, where maybe a group of leaders are coming together to explore something related to conflict resolution, or again, healthy communication practices, how to be more mindful and establish more mindfulness into the workday, how to be very aware of mental health needs, how to create a psychologically safe workplace, how to be aware of and potentially prevent suicide. These are all different topics that are really at the forefront right now. And maybe the last thing I'll mention today related to really the what are we bringing into the workplace and workday is this idea of really investing in a healthy environment. So things that are trending are respite rooms, really carving out spaces that are tech-free, carving out spaces or putting in spaces that are soundproofed. These types of spaces are amazing, right? If someone needs a private space for prayer or meditation or grief or to process something, to just step away. Heck, you might even just be stepping away to get a little movement in. But those wellness rooms essentially really make a big statement that health and well-being are important, and acknowledges that people might have rituals or practices, spiritual or otherwise, that could be supported in the workplace and workday. So that is a beautiful thing. And with that, we also see fitness centers and locker rooms and dramatic improvements to the types of foods and beverages that are offered. It's really interesting. Even the design of an office can be put through this wellness lens of making sure that natural light is available and a beautiful atrium, right, with plants and oxygen being put into the air, use of aromatherapy and open concepts so people can connect and engage with one another, and outdoor spaces so that there's a walking path and people can get outside and be in nature, or even social opportunities, right? There's clients that have ping pong tables and pickleball courts and basketball nets. And we just had an event last week and many departments met up and we're playing ultimate frisbee. And so really having some green spaces that people can access, and encouraging and creating opportunities for people to gather together cross-functionally. You know, I'll say it 100 times if I have to. People need people. They just need maybe different dosages or opportunities. Some people do better one-on-one. Some people really like team and group activities. And just creating space and permission for people to get outside and have those recreational opportunities. You know, again, I get it. Every workday is different. Every workplace is different. I do think we have to be what I call appropriately disruptive. we have to push, you know, push a little bit sometimes to get to a place of change or innovation. We do have to be willing to think very differently. And, you know, maybe you're the one to ask some questions and see and explore what's possible. So I have bottomless ways to bring energy and fun and healthy activities and opportunities into the workday. So if this gets your wheels turning at all, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I would love to support you with, either individually, how to transform your own workday with healthy routines and rituals, or globally across your workplace, organization, across your campus. There's really so much we can do so that everyone really loves where they work. That's my vision. So with that, transformation, it's possible. We just have to have a whole lot of people on board and excited about it and get to work. So, with that, this is a wrap, and let me know how I can be of service.